Vertical systems. Don't turn it off, okay?
No.
I'll show you. I'll tell you when you can touch it.
I like to see what the feel of the button.
The father, the brain behind this particular case, this is an Nanoxia case, is right here behind the counter. Herman Schreppel. Herman owns one of the largest. He's got a very, very big retail shop. He's also mostly involved into wholesale in Germany.
The retail shop's in Germany?
He's PCCooling.de. So, right.
Okay. I thought Case King was the big
He's one of our friends.
Case King is.
Our friends.
Let's not get him started because we'll be here all night.
Okay.
We can talk about. Okay, we'll be here. Okay. So we have 4 Nanoxia German engineering. There has been cases that have been specifically designed for very quiet operations. Everything is, every panel is covered with foam, and the fans are also have been designed for quiet operations. So that's the reason why we specifically wanted to use this case, because the second step of our demonstration is going to be very, very quiet cooling. Mm-hmm. And so we wanted to
be able...
take
pictures of these?
Yes, no problem. So we wanted to be able to demonstrate quiet or silent cooling.
Mm-hmm. The case is optimized for water cooling purposes as well.
Now, and actually after my demo, feel free to ask all the questions you may ask to Herman, because he knows his child in and out, and he probably has much more information about it than I could provide. Now, the second sponsors, all 4 ASUS Maximus 5 motherboards that feature that sweet little VR and chipset cooler that can either be air-cooled or water-cooled. One of these systems is water-cooled, cooling the VRs. Then we have 4 Core i7 CPUs, 1155, 3770K, all overclocked at 4.6 gigahertz with the push of a button, thanks to ASUS software, which means that they're all running at the same voltage, all at the same frequency, all controlled, not tweaked by us or anything like this. Just push button 4.6 and it does the rest. Okay, so that it's fair. Because the next part I will show you is the cooling and the thermals and the differences in temperature between each system. The rest of the components for gracious sponsors are 3 GTX 660s from EVGA that are air-cooled, because these 3 systems here are CPU water-cooled only, and 2 GTX 680s in that system, also EVGA and Swiftech cooled.
The hydrocopper.
Right, okay. The rest of the system, Kingston memory and SSDs, graciously sponsored by the nice people at Kingston, and 4 Cooler Master power supplies. Now, what do we have here? As far as the CPU cooling is concerned, the first machine was not graciously sponsored by Thermaltake. We bought it at Newegg. The second machine was not graciously sponsored by the good people at Corsair. We bought it at Newegg, and that's their latest and greatest H100i. And the next 2 are the standard H220 Swiftech cooler. All right? So, the difference between those 2 is that this one is running full liquid cooling.
Tell me I'm sorry, one more time. The first one is Corsair?
Thermaltake. The first one is the
big water
water
with the dual.
2.0.
Okay.
This is the
Corsair
H100i.
Okay.
Okay, MSRPs for reference, $143 MSRP, $190.95 MSRP. That's not street price. Street price on the Corsair is $109. Thermaltake has been a little aggressive lately because I think their sales were not that good. So street price is probably in the 120, something like that. MSRP for our system will be 139.95. Now, what we've done in the first step of our demo is we've put every system at the same fan speed, okay? And we've placed 100% load on each one of these CPUs so that we would have a feel of what the differences in temperature are for each system being placed under the same load and at the same fan speed. Now, for reference, the Thermaltake is running, the minimum fan speed is about 1400 RPMs, 1350, 1400. Yes, that's what it's running at. That's the minimum. That's the quietest possible speed, and it will go up to 2200 RPMs at its absolute maximum speed.
I've never used it. It has a software program that
It
you can
has
tell it
a-
automatic or manual.
It has a nice little piece of software that's point and click that is fairly user friendly.
Okay.
It has 3 different settings: maximum speed, silent, or custom. If you go into custom mode, you can obviously, I haven't tried to do custom,
Right.
and I use it either silent or max, and we'll do both modes so that you can listen. The same thing is true for the Corsair, except that I did try to play quite a bit more with the Corsair, and this is not a criticism, this is just a fact, because it comes without any installation or anything. I had the hardest time to figure it out. It took me a day, literally, to play with it and to figure it out. In the end, I figured it out, but it was quite tricky. And I find the software to be a little bloatware. In other words, I mean, it takes it's an opinion. Actually, the number of resources I haven't calculated, but I see that when the system is at full load, that thing is not responsive at all. Whereas I found the Thermaltake to be maybe a little bit more responsive when you put load on the CPUs.
It looks nicer.
Actually, you can make it much bigger. Okay, so if you go by looks, looks are. Personally, I go. It has quite a bit of functionalities. Actually, it's fairly complete. Okay. Now, in contrast, with our 2 systems here, we use the ASUS management program that came with the motherboard, and we will be able to do that with just about any other motherboard. MSI, they all have their software that allows you to adjust the fans and stuff, because we don't need our own software and pay for extra for the software when it comes with your motherboard, right? So we don't offer specific software because we are just like a CPU fan, plug and play CPU PWM. Okay. Now, as far as the load is concerned here, we use CPU burn because it gives us a very even, high temperature, high load on the CPU. We don't use Prime 95 because Prime 95 fluctuates. We don't use Lean Pack, which is the Intel test, because also it fluctuates. And for the purpose of this demo, we use CPU burn. And CPU burn in terms of maximum load on the processor is a little above, generates a little higher temperature than Prime, and a little lower temperature than Lean Pack, just for reference. But actually, we don't care. Whatever the load is, we're just trying to compare all 4 systems, right? So now we are all at 1400 RPMs. You can listen to the products individually. I encourage you to listen to the products so that you can tell maybe if you hear the pump or if you hear this or that. On the Corsair, on the Ontech, on the Swiftech.
You can switch it off.
Switch it off.
This was only water.
Now these are running at 1400.
And one out.
Yes.
People complain about not having balance. I'm always against these doors on the front though.
So, until they revisit it.